Welcome to Women Disrupting, a podcast amplifying the voice of women who are disrupting the status quo to create a more equitable, united, and peaceful world. Debbie is a chartered management accountant and certified financial coach. For 11 years, she thrived in the corporate world, but for the past 5 years, her passion has been empowering business owners. Like many, including myself, she started her own business, but fear kept her stuck. She knew the numbers, but not how to break free from limiting beliefs around pricing and having more wealth. In this episode, we delve into how women often don't feel comfortable talking about money. And it's no surprise when you look back at how long we have actually been allowed legally to manage our own money. Listen to Debbie talk about some of the limiting beliefs women face around money and how to overcome them. Welcome, Debbie. How are you today?
I'm good. The sun is back out, which makes me happy.
So you were just sharing with me the story of your career. And this is something I hear quite a lot from women, the transition from corporate to self-employed. It's not uncommon. The corporate world, for some women, not all, doesn't tend to fit. So talk to me a little bit about that.
I mostly left corporate because of my son. So I wanted to be around for him. I didn't want him to be in childcare from, say, 6:30, 7 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And I got to the point where I was working 9, 10 o'clock at night sometimes through month ends, year ends, etc., and not seeing him. And that's not what I ever wanted. So my mum worked part-time jobs around schools times. And so I tried the whole part-time thing, and corporate they just didn't get it. So I took redundancy from the company I'd been at for 11 years. And then I went to another corporate who again promised part-time, but again, didn't really work. So I decided that the best thing to do was to leave and try and pursue something myself that would fit around my son. And I sort of had this idea that, it'll be a little thing. I'll just do some little tax returns and, look after my son. But I've kind of never really been happy with that. I'm always striving for more and bigger things. So I still do work part-time around my son, but doing more than just a few tax returns.
Tell us a bit about what it is you do.
So when I left corporate, I focused on tax because people think accountant tax. And then I tried to bring in kind of the FD work I'd been doing inside corporate. I couldn't understand why my clients were not really responding. So they're asking me as the expert to help them grow their business. COVID then hit, which was not exactly great. And I was like, we need to do cash forecasts. We need to check your profitability. We need to do this stuff. And I thought, why are they avoiding me? And that's when I delved into mindset, and I done my financial coaching course, which was really interesting because I learned so much about myself in that process as well. And that's why my talk in December was anyone could be good with money. You look at finance people and you think, they must be so amazing at money, which I thought I was. I could budget, I could save, I could get discounts, but I didn't enjoy money until I started my financial coaching qualification. So I now help people look at their money, manage their money better, but also enjoy their money and actually be more open to talking about money and what they really want from it.
You can have great strategy with money, but if you've not got the mindset, the strategy won't work. And the same, you can have the mindset, but you also need some technical knowledge as well. So just talk to me about the relationship between mindset and strategy.
I kind of think of it's like, like a circle, you've got those arrows that go round, and it's like you build the strategy, but then you need the mindset to go with that. So then you sort of work on your mindset, and then you have to up your strategy, and then you have to up your mindset. I guess I think of it in a way as I might say to some of my clients, you really need to up your prices. Like, you haven't upped your prices in 5 years. This is actually a real example. Haven't upped your prices in 5 years, yet electricity and gas and everything else in their business had skyrocketed. But by upping their prices, they would have to go VAT registered. So therefore, we upped the prices and got over that kind of mindset. And then the strategy was you have to go VAT registered. And then there was the whole thing around, that is really difficult and complicated. And how do I pass that on? And so then they went VAT registered. And it's just like, what's the mindset that's blocking them from going VAT registered? What are they telling themselves about it? Then what's the strategy around it? What VAT scheme do they go on and how do they reclaim? And so it's like the technical sort of stuff and then the mind blocks and what's stopping them moving their business forward. I think a lot of people fear, don't they, rising their prices because they're going to lose a ton of clients. But one of my clients, I proved to him, he could lose a third of his membership base and still have the same profit level if he increased his prices. And so we did increase prices and he only lost a few members in his club. And then all new members came in at the higher price point. So it's like the strategy showing him, technically you can lose this much, but the mindset around it's okay to charge more. It's okay that you're more expensive than the club down the road. You're offering a different service. So yeah, I like the way the two interlink.
Yes, I didn't see it like that, because with upping your prices comes more responsibility and you need to develop your technical knowledge. So that's a turn off in itself. You might say something along the lines of, I'll just keep in this price rate because I can't be bothered with all that VAT nonsense.
Yeah.
Is that what you hear?
Yes, they don't want to deal with VAT because they think it's really confusing. They don't want to deal with VAT because they have to up their prices. Do they up their prices by 20%? Do they take that hit slightly? If they do up it by 20%, are they going to lose a ton of clients? So that's the mindset piece. And they don't want to seem, a lot of them, people that I work with, they want to help people. They're in those kind of roles where they want to help people and support people and like well-being and fitness and service-based businesses. And so they don't want to look greedy or like they can't help people because now they've priced them out of the market. So there's all sorts of mindset stuff. And then there's also the mindset around, and this was mine, like, am I greedy to want more? Because I'm okay, I'm doing okay. Do I need more? Why do I need more? Am I just being greedy? Should I just be helping other people and keep my prices nice and low so I can help everyone? When the truth is you can't help everyone. And if it's too low, and I've proven this myself, the price is too low, but the value is high, people will just think that it's not true, or they'll come in and then they won't commit to the work. So it's not price high, price high, price high. It's price where it sits with you and the value you're offering, and it's going to actually bring in the right people who are ready to do the work, because sometimes people are just not at that point where they're ready to do the work. So there's all sorts of mindset stuff that comes up around money, because I remember earning more than my parents combined. I was 25 and I earned more than my parents combined, and I was like, wow, that's just greedy, isn't it? Like, how can I ask for a pay rise now? Because why would I possibly need more money? And that's what came out with the financial coaching, actually, my thoughts and feelings around greed and money and being working class and stepping outside that.
The greedy mindset, which is a limiting belief, essentially, isn't it? I shouldn't ask for more money because it's greedy. I shouldn't want more money because it's greedy. Where do you think that comes from?
For me, it was that my parents are on low-income jobs and they work really hard. And so I was like, if they've got by on that income, how could I possibly need more? And if I have more, there must be a budget and I'm going to take from someone else who maybe needs it more than me. And so why should I have more when actually I'm okay? I was doing all right. Why should I ask for more? And it's that shift of, like my dad would always say, oh, those middle class types, money goes to money, those sort of sayings. And so to me, I was like, well, I'm working class. I come from a council estate. Like this is kind of where I feel comfortable in the earnings levels. And then once it started getting into like 30K, 40K, 50K, I was like, this is not a safe place to be because I'm not used to it. It's not somewhere that I put my identity, and I had to really shift my identity around what it meant to earn that kind of money. Yeah. So it was a big shift and a big learning curve at that point in time.
Yes, we need to be mindful about the beliefs we've inherited from our primary caregivers because they're quite powerful. Let's talk about women and money, because I did a bit of research just when I was reading your bio. It's only quite recent. So I was like, I wonder
when women were able to open their own bank accounts. And I found that women were able to open a bank account in their name without needing a male relative permission from 1975, which is just 50 years ago. I think that's quite recent. So what are the implications of that on women and our relationship to money?
Yeah, and women couldn't buy houses without a signature. I think it was around the 1980s, because I remember finding the deeds to my partner's mum's house, and she was called a spinster on it because she wasn't married. She really wasn't that old. Spinster, what a word. She had to have it signed off by her dad and stuff, and it's like just insane. But if you think about it in terms of evolution, 50 years is like no time. I can't remember the date when we were allowed to go to a bar and order a drink. It wasn't that long ago. We weren't allowed previously to do that. So you think when it comes to one, earning money, saving money, being able to invest money, feeling safe to spend money, all that stuff, we've got our parents, or not necessarily my parents, my grandparents certainly, they grew up, my granddad grew up in the war. My nan, they had little part-time jobs. Women didn't really have pensions. That was down to the man. And then suddenly we're in a world where we're meant to be deemed equal. We're meant to save our own pensions, contribute 50%. But then we've still got all the workload that we don't have all the workload. We have some of the work. Me and my partner are pretty good at sharing. But a lot of women don't have that ability to share the load, and the man might still earn more. But yeah, 50 years is no time to go from being allowed to open a bank account, be able to purchase a house, to them being expected to be able to manage and talk about money and feel safe about that. I feel like a lot of women don't necessarily feel safe to make those decisions because they've not been empowered to do that, and they've not seen it in the past. You see like films, don't you? Like Cruella de Vil and Devil Wears Prada, and the rich women are just bitches, and then they like lose it, or they see something change, and then suddenly they're nice people, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's not, if you've got money, you're not a nice person, you're not a caring. Women are deemed to be like, caring, and we're not caring if we're putting ourselves first and actually spending money on ourselves. So I remember my mum, like, she'd eat the burnt toast, or she'd have the crappy bit of cake, or she'd like eat the smaller bit, or it'd always be she'd put herself last. And we're so conditioned to putting ourselves last, even when it comes to money. We will spend on our kids or other people rather than ourselves. So I do see a lot still with women. It's like they don't feel deserving. They want to support other people, which is lovely, but we need to also look after ourselves.
So when clients come to you, your female clients, what kind of things might they say that is kind of symptomatic of that culture and generation?
I always remember one woman who said, I just want to be able to go into, is it Reese's? REISS. That's one of those more expensive shops, not Primark or New Look or whatever. So I just want to be able to go in there and buy myself the coat, but I don't feel I deserve it or I can, because I should spend that money, should spend that money on my kids, and it feels greedy and like I don't deserve to have that. And I just wanted to buy herself a nice coat. And you're like, that's really that's quite sad that you don't feel like you can buy yourself a coat. I know it's nice, it's a nice price coat, but it's not the point, is it? And like quite often they won't be saving into things like pensions, because pensions feel scary, because that's investment, that's taking a risk, that's putting money aside for your future, when you could be spending that money now on your kids or other relatives or supporting charities. So quite often it's, I'm okay. I just need to, I don't live a lavish life. I just want to be able to pay the bills. And it's like that just word. I just want to, be able to help the kids and support them. And they're always the last person on the list. And you're like, you should be aiming for more than just. You should be aiming for, you do have the ability to have this amazing life if you focus on aligning it with your values. Or I get women who spend maybe a lot on Vinted, and then they feel guilty because they've got all this stuff and they're buying it on impulse to make themselves feel better. And they don't realize that that's just it's a dopamine hit. And then they get all these clothes and then they feel guilty and then they hide it from their partners or whatever. And then they've got to live with that feeling of, oh, I'm not good with money. I was never good at maths. Girls are no good at maths. I'm never, all these, again, stories we hear of growing up. I was the oddball. I liked maths.
Yeah, and actually, as I've got older, I've come to value maths more because I can see its function. Whereas at school, I wasn't quite sure what's the point in this. Whereas as I'm older, I get it. Just going back then to some of those limiting beliefs that might present themselves in a client session. For example, I don't deserve that expensive coat. I'm not going to buy it. What might you do with a client like that to help them overcome such limiting beliefs?
So I have my own limiting belief. So obviously it's not being videos at the moment, but you can see. So these are my Disney ears. They cost me €25. And we went to Paris in February and I bought myself the €25 ears. But when we'd gone to Florida back in 2019, I didn't have a job at this point. I'd left. I wouldn't buy myself the ears because I was like, oh, it's a waste of money. Oh, I'll rather buy my son, a teddy bear, and I don't have a job, so I shouldn't be silly wasting money and blah, blah, blah. But my mindset's changed so much that I was like, yeah, buy yourself the ears.
Love it.
Buy yourself the ears. So I've gone through it myself. It's the same process I've taken myself through. So your question was, what would I do with clients? The first step in all of this is the awareness. So it's becoming aware of where does that originate from? And it might be like a number of places. So it might be that I ask them some coaching questions, such as what's your first memory of money? Do you remember kind of conversations at home around money? Were there any key points that you can remember around money? Or we might do a timeline. So where you go through when you were, whatever your first memory was, whatever age that was, 4 and upwards. And often by starting to do that, other memories will come out. So they'll I'm just like, literally just write it down. Don't question what you're thinking. Just write it all down. And you'll start to see, where did these stories come from? What were the thought process that you had? Because it's not saying that your parents have done anything wrong, because it's how you interpret it. So you can have siblings who have the same upbringing, the same conversations, and they can interpret it in 2 different ways. So you sometimes get siblings who are save, and then spend, because it's how you interpret what's happening and what spin you put on it. And then it's looking at how did those stories serve you. So for me, it was always money's really tight, money's security. So when I was at, say, uni, it done me well because I really didn't have a lot of money. And so I was able to get through university because I didn't spend and I was really careful of my money. So it benefited me at that point. But then what are the consequences? Well, when I was earning good money, I was still like, oh, no, need to save. Something might go wrong. The money might just disappear. What if? And then it was like, right, okay, now how do you want the future to look? And that's no way to enjoy money. Like I want to be able to, like I do now, go out and go on nice holidays and grab a coffee if I want and not think that's a waste of money, because that was definitely my thing. Like, well, I can make coffee at home. Because we don't get coffee out. So yeah, it's what's your awareness? What's the benefits of that? What's the consequences? And how do you want the future to look? And how does that align with your values? So I would take them through like a process over a number of weeks. And what often happens is between coaching sessions, like different stories will come up and different feelings. And it's not, the idea isn't to drag you back into that situation, because some of it can be quite traumatic, but it's to be like, right, what was the situation and how do we move forward?
Do you interleave that with more technical mentoring and support around the finance as you go along?
Yeah, so depending where they are, with each client, it'll be slightly different. But if we were talking about, say, their business and how much money do you want in your personal life, right? How's your business going to achieve that? And then we would look at how the business could achieve it. So if the business wasn't there now, is there something we can do with tax? Is there a way to extract money? Is it that we need to change the profitability of the service or product? Is there costs to strip out the business? Do we need to increase the prices? Actually, do we need to get rid of some services and focus on other services? So it would be like, what's the mindset? Where are you trying to get to? And then how does your business help you support that? For some people, the mindset stuff might take a bit longer. For other people, it's unlocking bits, doing some strategy, unlocking more, doing some strategy.
It's so amazing. I'm a big advocate of coaching. That's my bread and butter. And I think it's so clever and amazing that you've acknowledged that the technical skills that you have can only take your clients to a certain point, and you've actually developed another skill, which is to coach them in order to develop, because we need that. And as you're talking, I'm like thinking my awareness is becoming quite apparent to me around my limiting beliefs. And one of the things that I've always heard and inherited and questioned is, should we share with other people how much we earn?
It's interesting because you might be comfortable with sharing that, but other people might not be ready to receive that. So it's like we learn and develop and change our awareness, but maybe other people are not quite ready to hear that. So online, you see people sharing sometimes, I've had a 10K month. And you're like, yeah, but that's revenue. What does that actually translate to? And then what that can do is it can make other people, because they haven't worked on their mindset, it can make other people feel that they're not worthy. So I'm quite open with my son, very open. Me and my partner have a joint bank account, so we know completely how much we earn. I'm quite open with my family. They know pretty much how much we earn. But I'm really open with my son. We talk about how much we earn, tax, investments, etc. So I think it comes down to an individual basis and how comfortable you feel. I don't feel like there is a need to share how much you're earning. And then this is where Companies House is basically changing the rules. So at the moment, you don't have to put a profit and loss account onto Companies House for certain size businesses. That is changing. So people like me who are sole business owners, sole directors, some eventually, my earnings are going to be on the internet, which will be interesting concept that people can go and, like, your neighbours can literally go and find out how much you're earning. And I'm not sure that is necessarily a good thing. I do feel like we need to talk about money more and be more open, because you get rich people sort of hiding how much they earn, and then you get poorer people maybe pretending they're earning more. I'm undecided. I feel like, how comfortable do you feel, and what's the benefit in sharing how much you earn and who you share it with? So I feel like partners in life should be very open with each other. I had one client who he got a really large bonus and he didn't tell his wife, and I'm like, so you're sharing important stuff, your life with someone, and then you're not sharing your money? That feels like a strange concept to me. And I'm very open with my children, like my son. I don't feel you should be open necessarily with the struggles. Like, you should be aware, but not maybe too much. But in terms of other people, like if I told my granddad, he probably just wouldn't want to hear. He wouldn't be, he's not in that generation of wanting to hear. So I think it's balanced. You can share with the right people, but not necessarily everyone. But maybe Companies House will take that out of our hands.
I'm thinking more in terms of the benefits women might gain from sharing more. So if we think about the gender pay gap, I wonder, and I want your thoughts on this, if women shared more, not just women, men shared more around how much they earn, it would give women the insight and confidence to ask for pay rises, because perhaps they're realizing they're not getting paid as much as their peers.
Where I worked, they have now moved to a band system. So everyone on the bands knows what the bands are in terms of pay. And so everyone should be similarly aligned in terms of what they're paid. And people know where they should sit. But in terms of smaller companies, that's not always the case. And when I left, my manager told me while he was drunk that I was paid 10% less than all my colleagues, who were all men. I was the only female finance exec in that area, because I had no idea how much people earned. So actually, by being aware of that, I could have pushed more for a pay rise. And it is strange how, in corporate, it's all very secretive and hush-hush and don't talk about it. And also, like, even in the business world, I guess, we're seeing these 10K 50k months, but we're not seeing at the back end what the profit is. And so you might doubt yourself and think, oh, I'm not doing too good. Whereas actually I know my turnover is lower than other people's, but actually I've got quite a high profit percentage. So I'm not doing as well as some people on the internet might claim, but actually profit wise, I might be doing better than them. So yeah, I feel like maybe in a small, safe group. So when I do group stuff, it'll be small so that people feel safe to share that kind of information. But yeah, if we were more open, we could have more open conversations around where things should sit, like in terms of earnings wise, and also what we're doing with our money. Like, are we saving into pensions? Are we investing? Are we putting money aside for the future? People don't know if you don't speak about these things. Like, everyone thinks life insurance is expensive, but my life insurance is £15 a month. But it's not expensive.
There's no yes or no binary answer to that question. Should we share how much we earn? Just listening to you talk there, it would benefit certain demographics in certain contexts, and in other contexts it's not necessary. It's more nuanced than that, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's important conversations to have, and we should open up the floor of talking about money in general more, because I can believe there's only benefits to talking about money more. And that's not necessarily how much do you earn exactly, but it might be in this role, you would earn in the region of 60 grand a year. And if someone's on 40, they could be like, oh, hang on, what? How's that happened? And I know in a part way it happened to me because my parents earn, minimum wage jobs. And so for me, I was like, well, I don't know how much people earn in offices or these roles. Like, I've never experienced that in my life. I don't know what they earn. And so I didn't ask for the pay rises, whereas if it had been a bit clearer, I could have been like, oh, this is sort of where I should sit. And then I wouldn't have got so behind in the pay gap as I did. So I feel like in general, even just talking about money more, like, what do people do with their money? How do they manage their money? What do they invest in their pensions? When I was in corporate, loads of people didn't pay into the pension. And I was like, I don't really understand why you don't pay into the pension, because it's tax deductible and the company contributes and you're saving for the future. So I don't understand why you wouldn't. But because people don't talk about it and they think it's confusing, they don't do it. Whereas if we all spoke about it a little bit more, we could have those open conversations around saving into pensions or putting your money in ISAs, or how you can use the tax rules to improve your position. And so I feel like overall we need to just be more open and talk about money, because I can't see how there's no benefit to doing that.
Can you share maybe one or two more that might benefit our listeners around creating more of a positive money mindset?
With mindset, there's obviously some people say affirmations, and affirmations won't work unless you truly believe them. So it's understanding why you do things. So if you're going on your phone and you're buying on Amazon, one click buy, it's taking a pause and actually asking yourself, what emotion am I feeling right now? What position am I in? Why am I feeling the need to purchase right now? And understanding yourself, that's what I've done a lot over the last few years, is learn about myself and what I believe and why I do things. And I don't feel like a lot of us do that, because it's so easy now to scroll on social media, have a glass of wine, eat a bar of chocolate, purchase something, and disconnect from our emotions and disconnect from ourselves. And actually, if we spend a bit of time just pausing and thinking, why am I doing this? What's causing me to feel like I need to buy this product right now? You can then learn about yourself and actually start to change what you're doing. Because if you're just going to feel guilty when that Amazon parcel arrives, like, the dopamine's gone by that point. The parcel arrives and people go, oh, what did I buy? Like, you're never going to be in a better financial position. And it's also getting a bit uncomfortable. Like, if I follow the Humble Penny, and they say, if you want to do something extraordinary, if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you have to do something extraordinary. So being willing to get uncomfortable and look at your emotions, look at yourself, but also do things with money that maybe you're not comfortable with. So looking at your bank account, setting up a savings account, looking into investments, like educating yourself. There's so much information now, Money Saving Expert. YouTube, podcasts, like actually putting yourself in a position where it's a bit uncomfortable and you're not going to know what you're doing. Because we seem to like leave school and then stop learning. We should always be learning. So you can have a positive mindset by taking small little steps. So with some of my clients, it's like, right, let's set up a pot system. So you've got your holidays, you've got Christmas, you've got your tax, and just start putting little bits of money into those. You don't have to be in a position where you've got 6 months emergency fund right now. Start from where you are and take little steps, because when you can see it growing and you can see the change, my clients say to me, they start to feel more confident, and then that will start changing your mindset as well. So it's actually like, do the mindset stuff and look at the emotions, but actually start taking small actions, because that will then reinforce positive mindset, and that actually I do know what I'm doing. I am capable of doing this, and I'm not, like I've told myself for years, no good with money. You are. You just need to start where you are and take little steps.
What's your favourite free resource for our listeners to go to help them develop a positive money mindset, or just gather some technical knowledge around finance? My
podcast, which they can listen to, which goes through, I basically recorded it on the 6 pillars that I go through in terms of strategy and mindset. So they can go and look at my podcast, which is Get Financially Fit with Debbie Hancock. Or I really like Money to the Masses, their website, and the Meaningful Money podcast. So I read his book, Pete Matthews, and I actually went and got my will done. See, I mean, that's what I'm telling you. Not all finance people are amazing at everything. I got my will done. I think that was 4 years ago now. I set up my life insurance. I set up my income protection and stuff. So in terms of that sort of stuff, that book was really good. Or he does like free stuff on his podcast. So that actually helped me like protect my wealth. That is an element, a pillar of wealth, is protecting your wealth. So the Meaningful Money podcast and Money to the Masses and my podcast.
Thank you for those recommendations. And if people wanted to find you and your services, where would they go?
So I mainly hang out on LinkedIn, Debbie Hancock ACMA, or my website. I've been working on my website. I've put my podcast on there, I've put my blogs on there, and my services, because I completely abandoned my website beforehand. So Southbourne Accountancy is my website, or LinkedIn is mainly where I hang out.
Thank you so much. It has been very insightful for me. It certainly got me thinking about my finances, and I'm sure it's got other listeners. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. I'm always looking for disruptive women as guests. If you think you'd make a great guest or know anyone who would, then please email me with the details. You can email info@yasminarifcoaching.com. More details in today's show notes. Remember to show up and share your truth, because the world is hungry for women who show up and tell the truth, unafraid and free, expanding to the very edges of who they were always meant to be.